Welcome to my mock draft 2.0 for the 2019 draft. The draft's getting closer and closer every day, guys. We're like 12 days away now, and I got to get this out now. First overall pick, I have the New Orleans Pelicans taking Zion Williamson. It's been that way ever since the lottery was over. Zion Williamson is going to be the first overall pick. I don't think anyone will question that now. The second overall pick, I have the Memphis Grizzlies taking Ja Morant, point guard from Murray State, athletic, great playmaker, good scorer. Just what Memphis needs to reboot their franchise. Maybe they keep Mike Conley, maybe they don't. If they keep Mike Conley, that's a fire mentor to have, because I don't think a better mentor could be possible for Ja Morant than Mike Conley. So, Ja Morant, second overall to the Memphis Grizzlies. New York Knicks taking RJ Barrett, the shooting guard / small forward from Duke. Again, best player available. I think his confidence and his swagger almost and his personality fit very well with New York. This is a kid who has dealt with the spotlight ever since he was young. He's the godson of Steve Nash. Dad was a pro player, and he's basically the newest Canadian import. Hopefully he does better than Andrew Wiggins has. But I think RJ Barrett, his stock didn't fall for me. It's just that other guys' stock went up. I still think of him the same as I thought of him before the college season started, when he was the projected first overall pick. But again, I just think Zion Williamson played at another level. Ja Morant rose right up the draft boards, and RJ Barrett just kind of slid because of that. But I don't think I noticed anything that wouldn't suggest that he isn't a player that can be a star. I think he has star potential written all over him. Moving on to the fourth overall pick, I have the LA Lakers taking Jarrett Culver. Mojo has a better feel for what Jarrett Culver can be. He's a shooting guard from Texas Tech. To me, he's the fourth best player in this draft, so I think the Lakers, again, just take the best player available. Like the Knicks, just take the best guy available. They can either trade him, which I think they might try to, for Anthony Davis, but he kind of fits well with what the Lakers need almost, especially with the uncertainty of Brandon Ingram. Hopefully he ends up recovering from the blood clots. That sucks. He's a very good young player, one of my favorite young players to watch. And, maybe Jarrett Culver can play with him, or maybe he can replace him. I don't know. I hope it's him playing with Brandon Ingram, not replacing Brandon Ingram. But again, Jarrett Culver's a good shot creator, good defender, really played well in his sophomore year, and he did kind of struggle to the end of the tournament, which is a little concerning to me because that's when the lights get brightest in LA. The lights are bright in LA. But again, I don't think it's too much of a concern. And thank you to Mojo for putting me on Jarrett Culver, because I had him ranked 8th or 9th before, and then he kind of put me on him. I kind of watched some of the game film. I'm like, you know what, this guy's probably the fourth best player in the draft. The fifth overall pick, I had the Cleveland Cavaliers selecting Cam Reddish, the small forward from Duke. Cam Reddish probably would have gone a lot higher had he not played with Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett, because to me, you could put Cam Reddish on a lot of teams in college this year, and he probably is the best player. But again, he just happened to play with two freshman All-Americans who are going to be top 3 draft picks this year. So, I just think he's going to go to Cleveland. I think he's going to get all the opportunity in the world to show the potential that I saw out of him coming out of Pennsylvania in high school. So, again, this is another young player to put alongside Colin Sexton, who I have very high hopes for after what I saw from him as a rookie. Moving on to the sixth overall pick, I have the Phoenix Suns selecting Darius Garland, the point guard from Vanderbilt. He had an injury that kind of ruined his career at Vandy, but at the same time, I think the Suns, they need to take a point guard, and he is the best one available on my board. Put him next to a guy like Devin Booker. You can take some pressure off Devin Booker. Maybe he can be a pick-and-roll player with DeAndre Ayton, who I also think has all the potential in the world. But again, he isn't a perfect fit. He's not the greatest playmaker. He's more Kemba Walker than he is Rajon Rondo. That's what I'm trying to get at with him. And again, though, they need some form of a point guard. And I'm not saying Darius Garland can't be a good playmaker. I just think, again, even if he isn't a great playmaker, he's another creator you can put next to Devin Booker to take pressure off him, allow Devin Booker to work more off ball, and Darius Garland could be a guy that could play off ball as well. You never know. Moving on to the 7th overall pick, I have the Chicago Bulls selecting Kobe White, the point guard / shooting guard from North Carolina. He rose up draft boards quickly. He wasn't really on my radar entering the year, but his play this year was amazing for North Carolina. He really outshined who I thought was going to be North Carolina's best NBA prospect this year a little. And I just think the pace he plays at with those young guys like Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, Otto Porter Jr., and Wendell Carter, he can push the pace. And I just think he can help that team get over that point. And I think moving forward, adding him to that young core can be really good for the end for the Chicago Bulls. Moving on to the 8th overall pick, I have the Atlanta Hawks selecting DeAndre Hunter, the small forward from Virginia. This is your Taurean Prince replacement. If you don't know, Taurean Prince was traded to Brooklyn for the 17th overall pick, and Alan Crabb. DeAndre Hunter, probably the best defender in this class. Actually, he is the best defender, in my opinion, in this draft class. His offensive skills are kind of a little unknown. He's either going to be a maybe. I don't think he's as bad as like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, but like it isn't the greatest thing. Hopefully he can be competent enough on offense, because I think, again, adding a defender you can put with Trae Young, it's kind of what they need. I think he'll be like a 15-point scorer at best, but at worst he's a really good defender. Play like a Marcus Smart kind of role where his numbers don't really show the full impact of how good he is and how much value he has for the team. And I think this would be a great pick for the Atlanta Hawks. Moving on to the Washington Wizards, I have them selecting Jackson Hayes, the center from Texas. Jackson Hayes, another guy like Kobe White, like John Morant. He rose up draft boards really quickly. And he kind of reminds me a little bit of Miles Turner. Kind of reminds me of Jared Allen, two Texas big men. Immediately, he'll be a good defender, can be a good rebounder in the NBA. And maybe his rookie, I see him averaging like maybe 5 to 6 points per game, and then anywhere between 5 to 8 rebounds a game, where he just shows his impact on the defensive end. Could have a very Mitchell Robinson kind of rookie year. Maybe not a shot blocking production, because Mitchell Robinson's shot blocking production was one of the best I've ever seen by a rookie. But I think he can have a very Mitchell Robinson-esque kind of rookie season. Moving on to the 10th overall pick, I had the Atlanta Hawks selecting Romeo Langford. Now, here's the thing. I'm a lot higher on Romeo Langford than a lot of people are. Romeo Langford's a guy that people have going anywhere from like 13 to 19. I think he is a top 8 player in this draft class. My personal opinion. He played with a fractured thumb this entire year, and he didn't really shoot well. But I think he's a great shot creator. He can be a great scorer. He can be a great secondary option next to a guy like Trae Young. And, you know, I don't think this year at college really helped him, but I also don't think it shows the full player that Romeo Langford is and can be in the NBA, because I think he could be a top-tier shooting guard in the NBA. But again, this is just my opinion. I know a lot of people don't have him going as high as 10, but I feel like his talent really speaks for itself. Moving on to the 11th overall pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves. I'm selecting Sekou Doumbouya, the power forward / small forward. He's an international prospect. The Minnesota Timberwolves need to get something. And Karl-Anthony Towns is amazing. Andrew Wiggins, really disappointing. Sekou Doumbouya is a player who really prides himself on defense. He's a really defensive player. He can grow into an offensive player. I can see it happening with the right development, things like that. But at the same time, it could be a risk. It may not end up working out like with some international prospects. He's viewed as the best international prospect in this draft. And that really doesn't say too much to me, because he isn't as good as the past few international prospects that were considered the best ones in the draft class, like Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, to name a few. Ricky Rubio is another one that comes to mind. But I think he has a lot of upside as a player. And I think right away, the moment he steps into the NBA, he will have an impact as a defender, which is something the Minnesota Timberwolves need, because honestly, that might be one of the softest teams I've seen in the league. And, we'll see what happens with Andrew Wiggins. Maybe he bounces back. Maybe he doesn't and just becomes a 15-point-per-game scorer for the rest of his career. But adding a defensive presence could really help the Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, he's a project offensively, but defensively, I think he can make an impact right away. Moving on to the 12th overall pick, I have the Charlotte Hornets selecting Kevin Porter Jr., the shooting guard from USC. Now, here's the thing about Kevin Porter Jr. His talent is of someone that probably would go in the top 3. Based off his pure talent alone, he would be a top 3 pick, in my opinion. But I see some certain issues. He was suspended, I believe, by USC this year. He isn't the most consistent player, but he shows all the talent in the world. He does have a funky-looking jump shot, but he's a flashy player, left-handed. And you see that with a lot of left-handed shooting guards, they're very flashy players. And I think with Charlotte, again, this is another team that I feel like they just need to take talent. They need to take a gamble. Do they pay Kemba Walker the Supermax contract? Do they pay him that money to be their franchise player? I don't think he's worth that kind of money. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's worth $200 million. But I think, again, whether you sign Kemba Walker, whether you don't, you just have to get some sort of talent. And I think getting a guy like Kevin Porter Jr., who is a high-risk player, I think is the right move. Because, again, if he fails, it's like it wasn't like you had a top 5 pick. You took him with a 12th overall pick. So it's like, it's going to happen. Not that many 12th overall picks end up becoming stars. But if he can reach his full potential, I think this could be the steal of the draft. Because Kevin Porter Jr.'s upside is just through the roof for me. And I think if he puts it all together and becomes really consistent, really focuses, I think he could end up being an all-star in this league. But it's all up to him. And I think 12 is a good spot because, again, once you get outside that top 10 in the draft, it's kind of okay to take risks with the players that you pick. And I think, again, this is a risk worth taking. Because if it pays off, it pays off. If it doesn't pay off, it doesn't pay off. You had the 12th pick. It wasn't like you were going to get a star guaranteed anyway. So might as well take a risk on someone that has that potential, but also has a lot of risk coming with him as well. Speaking of risks, let's move on to the 13th overall pick, the Miami Heat. The first pick in the post-Dwayne Wade era. And I have him selecting Bol, the center from Oregon. Now, he's a player that I feel would be a top 5 pick had it not been for injury concerns, because injury concerns with the center are a real thing. And you've seen it guys like Greg Oden, you've seen it with Joel Embiid early on in his career and things like that. But again, Bol, another guy, he has all the upside in the world to be a top 2 center in the NBA. Now, you have Hassan Whiteside, but again, you have Bam Adebayo. But at the same time, with Miami, 13th pick, this is the first pick of the post-Wade era. I feel like you need to take that risk on someone that I believe has potential to be an all-star in this league. Again, he just has to put it all together. Injury concerns, but again, it's a 13th pick. No one's going to bash you for missing on the 13th overall pick. Think about it this way. When Kobe Bryant was drafted in 1996, nobody's going to bash the 12th overall pick because there wasn't Kobe Bryant. Because Kobe Bryant, again, like guys like Kevin Porter Jr., like guys like Bol, like guys like Romeo Langford and guys like that, they're viewed as risks. They can be all-stars. You see the talent that they can be these all-star level players, but there's a lot of risk. Now, I'm not saying any of these guys will ever be Kobe Bryant. There's so many reasons why that's a bad thing to say, because Kobe Bryant's expectations are just so great that I don't even think maybe Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett could even come close to it. But at the same time, this is that range, that what I call the Kobe Bryant range, where you will take that risk on a player. I think taking a risk on Bol, he showed he can be a great shooter. He showed he can be a good shot blocker with his size, his length. he moves really well for the center. He isn't slow and clunky and clumsy like your Joel Embiids and your Greg Odens and your DeMarcus Cousins, Draymond Green to an extent. And I think if it works out, it works out. Again, if it doesn't, it doesn't. You were willing to take that risk. You aren't guaranteed a start. You might as well take a risk and aim for someone who has star potential but also has a lot of risk. And then for the 14th overall pick, my team, the Boston Celtics, I have them selecting Rui Hachimura, the power forward from Gonzaga. Now, to me, Rui Hachimura is my favorite player in this draft. He kind of reminds me a little bit of LaMarcus Aldridge, and he's another player. He's a little bit raw as a prospect, even though he is a upperclassman in this draft. He's a junior, but I like his ability to be a guy that can post up. He can shoot from the mid-range. Maybe can post it back to the three-point line. Can be a good defender. Can kind of switch on to a couple positions. He has good enough athleticism. And, this is a team. Kyrie's probably gone. Hopefully Terry Rozier is gone. I hope they re-sign Marcus Morris. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But this is a guy that I feel get him in the mentor system. Under Al Horford, I think his development can thrive. Because I think if you let Al Horford mentor Rui Hachimura, it could all work out in the end. This will be the second big guy that the Celtics really take in this draft. Last year they took Time Lord Robert Williams, who I thought was a lottery talent, and this year they had Rui Hachimura. Another guy I was thinking about was PJ Washington, but I have bias towards Rui Hachimura, so I had the Celtics, my team, taking my favorite player in the draft. So yeah, thank you for watching, guys. If you liked the video, please feel free to like and subscribe. It would really help support the channel. I'm a very small YouTuber, and it isn't always about subs and views and things like that, but to see myself grow and see that people are watching me, people enjoy watching me, will be very encouraging for me to continue making videos. Podcast probably coming back this Friday. I'm excited for that. I've been on a 2-week absence because I graduated from high school, and there's a whole lot of things I had to do for that, so I didn't really have time for a podcast. But that podcast will come back. Arkwood Sports is coming back this week. Be on the lookout for next week's C Plus Sports podcast. Probably will be Friday in the upcoming weeks as well. That's a podcast I do with my friend Nikki. He's a Dallas Cowboys fan. Please feel free to follow him. If I find his social medias, I'll put them in the description. But have a nice day, guys. I know it's late night. It's 10 o'clock. Late night upload. But enjoy your night. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy your Sunday. Those still in school, don't do stupid things. And that's all, guys.